Welcome to the Verdin Sports Show. I'm your host, Jacob Verdin. Just got back from LSU's practice, day 5, I believe, and we got some notes from Brian Kelly, from the team, from our observations, from the sideline. As per usual, live Monday, Wednesday, Friday on YouTube, on Facebook. Hit that thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe so you can tune into every live stream, all the practice highlights, all the good footage that we're going to have uploaded this season for you. Let's get started, man. We getting our emotions in check at this point, because you're in the middle of that point where you're excited for it to come back, where you're trying to get all the new faces in check. You're trying to learn everybody's name. You're trying to make sure that you got the jersey numbers right. But at this point, what I've seen, I feel pretty decent about LSU, about their chances, about them going into Clemson and potentially battling one of the top teams in college football. In the last stream we talked about, a lot of people weren't happy to hear my opinion on Clemson. Well, sometimes the truth hurts. Well, it's my truth, at least. You never know what's going to happen any given Saturday, any given week. LSU could start 1-0. That's the focus. That's the goal. That's what everyone's preaching. But will it actually happen? Two entire separate conversations. Let's jump right into these notes, though. So it was more the same, I would say, from what we've saw through our first week of fall camp. Tomorrow, they start tackling. It's live. It's physical. It's contact. We're back into the full swing of things 100%. I feel like that's when you're really going to get to see some of the more important aspects of the team that we're looking for. Offensive line, pass protection. Is the defensive line going to be able to get physical? How's the run defense? Things like that. That's when you really get those questions answered. The plan this week after tomorrow, Wednesday, will apparently be their first 2-hour practice. Brian Kelly says it'll be more of a situational practice. They're just going to try to focus on some certain things, certain packages, certain movements, certain roles. And as we said last week, they've kind of just been acclimating to fall camp. They haven't had these huge practices with a lengthy amount of time. What they've been doing is kind of just trying to get everybody back into the fold slowly, without having any injuries, without having any question marks, any big issues, if you will. We'll talk about one of those on the offensive side of the ball. Everybody's been wondering, where's Aaron Anderson? Where's Aaron Anderson? Well, we finally got a good update from Coach Kelly today on where numero uno has been. We'll get to that, though. Saturday, LSU will scrimmage, give themselves a good look into the live reps, like we said. But my overall observation, the group's competitive. They're good. Like Brian Kelly said, they have all the traits of success. The vibes are high. The chemistry's high. It looks like a group that's been around each other for years. And I know we have a lot of key pieces turning around, a lot of transfer portal pieces getting plugged in and out. Offensive line continuity being, one of the main questions everybody's been asking about. But they look like an experienced group. If we're going to focus on the offensive line real quick, Braylon Moore has been confirmed to be the starting center. Brian Kelly said it. No more speculating, and everybody expected this. You bring in a guy from Virginia Tech who played center, who has the experience at that position. And I'm not going to say DJ Chester had a rough time at center, but it wasn't perfect by any means. And it happens in college football. But now you're improving in a spot where you're going to be able to have, I would say, 3 experienced offensive linemen. Then you're going to pinch in Tyree Adams. You're going to pinch in Weston Davis. And they've got supplemental instruction. They've gotten on the field. However, with Weston Davison, since at right tackle, I think he looks the part so far. I think if anybody preseason was going to get the tag of, oh, I'm worried of him on this spot of the offensive line, or, oh, I'm worried about his potential or how he's going to be able to answer the new role, a lot of people were talking about that right tackle. With what we've seen, the pancakes, the physicality, him versus Jack Pyburn. I mean, everything looks good. He looks like a surefire piece that could be very, very solid at that spot. Now, Garrett Nussmeier, I think he's looked the part as well. He's looked very sharp. He's looked very experienced. He looks exactly as you would expect somebody to look at this point in his career, the 5 years under his belt, being one of the more talked about names in college football at any position, not even strictly the quarterback position, but just college football as a whole. He had a few miscues, but all in all, I think he's looked really good in terms of a being calculated standpoint. The offense looked really fluid. They looked like they I'm not going to say reactionary, because that kind of just feels cliche, but they're taking what the defense is giving them. They're reacting to what's out there on the field and not trying to force something that isn't necessarily there, or that isn't going to work out in terms of a positive gain. Everything I think that they've shown has been positive. And Nussmeier's been showing the mobility. And it's not like he's running a 4.240 like my guy Chris Hilton, who was clocked at 23 miles per hour. Nussmeier is getting out of the pocket in enough time to be able to gain a few yards, have a positive play, and not, detract from the main goal, which is to move the football forward. So, like I said, offense looking fluid, efficient, quick reads, quick reactions, and then their ability to pass in the quick game over the middle of the field towards that sideline. They almost landed it at will. I mean, there was a time where over the middle, Garrett Nussmeier did throw an interception. However, for the most part, if he wanted it, he had it right over there. And I think that's the traits of an offense that, once again, is experienced and is gelled together, whether it be a short time frame, whether it be one spring period and now you're 1 week into fall, whatever the case happened, player-led practices, all these different opportunities that they've had to be alongside each other, I think have paid off. And I think you're looking at a variety of things to be able to, prove that statement. Other quarterback news: Michael Van Buren. He's shown the mobility as well. He had a miscue with a throw over the middle, a little bit high, but he could be somebody that you could see get implemented into the role we keep talking about Juwan Johnson in. How, okay, yeah, if you want a quarterback design run, you can throw Juwan Johnson out there, and then it's a wildcat. It's not just a wildcat where you got to worry about him running from behind center and taking you 30, 40, 50 yards. He could throw the damn rock too. And that could be the same instance in Michael Van Buren. I mean, they've got options if they really wanted to try to get tricky. Now, in terms of the red shirt question, because I feel like a lot of people have been talking about Michael Van Buren getting redshirted, and it looks like that would be the smart choice, especially with somebody like Nussmeier expected to start every game. He doesn't have a long history of injuries. He's got a lot of hype behind him. He's going to be one of the top quarterbacks. I'm sure he's going to have a hell of a season. So with that being said, you save yourself from having to go really look through the portal and stress out, quite frankly, with putting Michael Van Buren on a red shirt and having the 3 years left with him. Now, with Colin Hurley, that begs the question on what you're going to do with him. And he's looked okay through camp. He's looked young, which, once again, that's expected at this point. Your second year in college football, still recovering, still, you got time to grow. Yeah, they tossed the Kylan Billiot that got broken up by DJ Pickett. But him being there, I think, is the most important thing for him. Now, with Juwan Johnson, he's getting talked about in the same breath as Michael Van Buren. Is he going to get the red shirt? Brian Kelly said he's going to play 4 games. The question is, will he play that 5th game? Really, what they're trying to do is prepare themselves for the future. Have a lot of options, whether it be MVB, Juwan, Colin Hurley, a transfer portal player coming in. They got enough pieces where they could have a nice quarterback competition battle and figure out life after Garrett Nussmeier and not have it hit them. Like, it's hit some college football teams in general. We keep talking about the Georgias. We keep talking about the Alabamas or all these other teams that they don't have an experienced quarterback behind center to be able to lead them through this season. Now, how do you prevent things like that? Well, you try to put the ducks in a row when you got an NFL-ready guy like Garrett Nussmeier, and hopefully have the same type of transitional period like you did when Jaden Daniels left and gave the torch to Nuss. You're going to have them prepared, learning, asking questions, and they're not just on the bench. They're sitting there like the second quarterback, preparing to potentially start in the game or potentially get in. They're still in the film room. They're still out there, still getting in between the head or between the ears. That's going to be the most important part for this quarterback room if you want to see that transitional period like I'm talking about. Wide receiver room. Now we're going to give you the injury update with Aaron Anderson. He was out once again today. He's on the sideline, but there's good news. Brian Kelly says he expects him to be back in the fold tomorrow. Now, it won't be in a contact sense, at least from what we gathered. He'll be on the side doing some speed work, some conditioning work. He's okay, though. Brian Kelly said maybe he had too much work in his offseason programs, had some inflammation around the knee, and this was a precautionary move. And this is why the practices have been the lengths that they've been. An hour, the first 2-hour practice coming Wednesday, because they don't want to have any of these slow, grinding, soft tissue injuries that could potentially hurt you down the line. I mean, look last season when John Emery at practice blows one after the USC game, and he's out the entirety of the year. And that puts you in a bind. It puts you in a spot where you're moving people into running back, where you're looking at young, inexperienced depth to be able to carry you, which they did. And shout out Caden Durham, tip of the hat to you. But it's just about preventing your team from being in that point. because injuries are unforeseeable. Those are the parts and those are the things that kill the hopes and dreams of very, very talented teams who are close to winning a championship. Those are the things that you're not really going to be able to stop, but you could potentially prohibit with things like this, especially with the modern technology you have, being able to look at your chances of soft tissue injuries. And I mean, guys like Jack Marucci in the building, got a lot of equipment, a lot of tech, a lot of advanced innovations to be able to look at in this whole entire regime. So I'm going to trust it. I trust the process. I think Aaron Anderson's going to be on track for a great season. You know what you get out of him. Why throw him out there in fall camp and have him risk that injury? What's the point? I feel like if you're conditioned, if you're able to answer the bell, have your reps, not have any type of decline in production, I think it's a smart move because you're a lot better with him than you are without him. If you put him in a situation with an inflamed knee, with a high chance of having a soft tissue injury, then you're just shooting yourself in the foot. But you do have a lot of pieces in that room. And I'll say this, here's a blessing in disguise. When you got someone like Aaron Anderson, who's a dog, and he's off to the side, you're going to have to try to find the backup dog, if you will. Now you got a lot of reps, a lot of targets, a lot of touches, if you will, out in the open for someone to seize, to someone to grab. And you get to see this wide receiver room comprehensively, if you will. And these are my standouts, my top three, if you will. Barian Brown, I'm going to keep banging on the Barian Brown drum. He's quick as hell. He's able to climb. Had some nice vertical plays today. Nick Anderson, though. Nick Anderson had a hell of a day. And that's the guy that everybody's got the asterisk next to because they're worried about injuries. They're worried about health. They're worried about this. They're worried about that. I'm not really going to worry yet. You haven't given me anything to worry off of yet. You're very physical. You got the big frame, the 6'4" build. I think he's like 220 plus pounds. This is going to be one of the key pieces in that wide receiver room that makes a secondary play true. They don't have to go and bracket a guy like Barian or Chris, or if you want to, have fun. But you've got so many names. And then if you got Nick Anderson on one side that's 6'4", you still got Trez Green. You still got a lot of pieces. You still got Byron Sharp, who has been all over the place as well. But Nick Anderson, he's looked insane. He used his size at the line of scrimmage today to get open on Ashton Stamps. And I mean, those type of plays you see from a tight end. You see from a guy who's physical, big frame, built different off that quick edge, getting to the sideline and then turning himself and putting himself in front of a corner. It's tough to get around that if you just don't have the length or the ability. And I think Nick Anderson is showing off a lot, looking physical, looking good, looking like one of the key pieces I think that we're going to be able to watch this season. Now, Chris Hilton is going to be a guy. Chris Hilton could arguably be wide receiver one. Like I said at the beginning of the show, he was clocked at 23 miles per hour. Please think about that. If Chris Hilton ran, 5 miles per hour faster, he'd be speeding in a residential. Like Chris Hilton, all bullshit aside, that is one of the fastest players in college football. And today, he had a hell of a look. Nussmeier launched one, caught him on the side, in stride, right by DJ Pickett and Deshaun Spears. Both of them there did matter. Beautiful ball, beautiful placement. The chemistry that those two players are possessing, that's going to be interesting to watch. That's going to be one of those connections, 13-3. That'll be it'll be hot all season long. I can't lie to you. I think that's going to be interesting. And like I said, the middle and the sideline by the offense and their fluidity, they were attacking it at will. Trez Green had a nice catch over Jordan Gilbert right there. Looked 50-50 at first. I think he came down with it. Now, there are people discussing on whether or not it will be a catch. However, I thought he got his foot down. He might have got the other foot down first on the out-of-bounds line. I don't know. You're going to have to hit the slow-mo replay for him. But they got a lot of options here, especially when you're talking about short game, when you're talking about vertical game, when you're talking about just physical size pieces. They got a lot of things. They got a lot of names to mention, if you will. Jelani Watkins, let's talk about him. He's been adjusting slowly. We were wondering preseason on how much he'd be implemented into this room. He's focusing on the track, didn't come to spring ball. And look, he's got Olympic speed. Like he's got not just track speed, he's got speed that could get him a medal. Any Olympics against anybody, against any country. I feel like this kid, if you're running a 10-1 already like this in your first 100 meter at a collegiate level and you're representing your school at the NCAA championships and you just are cutting your teeth, you got untapped potential. Now, it goes without saying that he's also got another sport to focus on. And, people were wondering on how much he was actually going to get put in to these rotations and to these different packages that LSU football's putting together. He's being used in the late rotations as of right now. Had a little bit of a mistake. Joe Sloan was getting after him, but all in all, I mean, he's getting used. I don't know. I don't know if it's more than a special teams look right now. I could see next year if he stays true to it and he keeps focused. Maybe he can be, I don't know, at the top of a second rotation. But right now, in my opinion, he'd be in the third rotation. You got too many names, too many people, too many mouths to feed. Zay Thomas, that's another one. He's speedy, but there was a moment today in practice. I like Zay Thomas. Now, I'm going to profess this with that. There was a moment today in practice where he got leveled by AJ Halsey, and it makes you wonder, like, okay, so there's two sides to this. There's the side that you're super quick. There's the side that you could potentially be undersized, and I'm not trying to say that that isn't that's going to prevent you from getting the ball. No, you could do the long handoff. You could do him in the backfield. You could do like our guy Joe and Tommy in the chat, bubble screen, jet sweep. You could do things like that. You could use him in motion and help him, break the disguise of the defense, man or zone. You can do all kind of things with someone like that. However, that moment today, it was kind of like humbling, if you will. It's like, okay, AJ Halsey, now it's a credit to him. He's all over the place, and we'll get to him in a little bit. But it just makes you wonder about the smaller, speedier guys. Like, yeah, it sounds good in theory, but sometimes in the SEC, when you're playing big boy football, you're going to have a rude awakening. That's my opinion on it. Lastly, for the offense, Harlem Berry. He's been getting his reps. He's been getting his fair share. He's having issues in pass protection, though. And that's going to be something that'll keep you off the field, right? That'll be something that you're going to have to work on. You have to clean up. Yeah, you're a freshman. I'm glad that he's in this role. I'm glad that he came early. I'm glad that he's got a spring under his belt. But he's going to have to do a little bit more to make sure that he's going to be a piece that LSU leans on. You know, it's his first year. You shouldn't have high expectations for playing time, for touches, for reps, especially in this day and age. But that's a point that I think Harlem would potentially have to grow on to make sure that he is going to be trusted to be out there in the field. That's my opinion, especially if you're thinking of him as a receiving back, because there's going to be times where he's out there in the pass package and he's not going to be receiving, or he'll block and release, or he'll do something where he's going to have to touch somebody. You're going to want to be able to trust him. Let's move over to the defensive side of the ball. Here's the sets that we saw in terms of who's playing with who are the combinations, who are the personnel. He saw Mansour Delane and Ashton Stamps, and that's about what you would expect. I'll give you my corner ranks in a little bit, but at safety, we saw a lot of AJ Halsey and Deshaun Spears, which once again, I like Deshaun Spears, and I love AJ Halsey. AJ Halsey is a physical safety. He's all over the place. Yeah, he's got great experience at Houston, but just what he brings, he looks like an SEC safety. He looks like somebody that could just be all over the place creating havoc. And like I said, we'll touch on him in a little bit. Defensive line, your edges, I've seen a lot of Jack Pyburn, Gabe Relaford. Yeah, you can pinch in Patrick and Jamari Butler. D-line, you saw Tank and Bernard Gooden on the inside. I saw Gooden swap with Ahmad, though, so Tank and Ahmad were also playing those roles as well. Here's the thing about edge, D-line, and DB. You can rotate. You can rotate multiple squads. The D-line's got 2, maybe 3 squads, because if you think about this, you got Tank, you got Bernard, you got Ahmad, you got Dominic, and you got Sadir. It's a lot of names right there. At the edge, you got Pyburn, you got Relaford, you got Patrick, you got Jamari Butler. You got some names that could be able to get rotated as well. At least 2 groups for both of those positions. Now at corner, you got a lot of options. This is my cornerback rankings. Mansour Delane, Ashton Stamps, Jakeem Jackson, P.J. Woodland, then D.J. Pickett. Now, Mansour's looked apart, obviously, Reed Nice. He kept up with Chris Hilton very well today on the vertical route. And I keep going back to Chris Hilton running 23 miles per hour because, first off, that's rare. Just going to call a spade a spade. Second off, Chris Hilton, I think, is the biggest vertical threat that this team has had in recent memory. Look at the bowl game, the 2 grabs, and him being hurt and damaged all last season was one of the prohibiting factors for that offense, I think. Now, were they still successful? Yes. However, Chris Hilton is a big, big part to this aerial attack that they're building here and the scheme. And to watch Mansour Delane completely strap him over the top, I didn't think anybody could strap Chris Hilton over a go. He was over the top of him the entire time. Was he a good bit of yards off? Yeah. But hey, you got to cheat. Got to cheat a little bit. Got to give yourself some pad, if you will. But yeah, Mansour Delane looking great. P.J. Woodland, he's been all over the place this week. He'll see the field a lot. A lot of people think he's undersized. I don't know. I think P.J. Woolen's been explosive. He's been instinctive. He played very well versus Barry Brown today, very well versus Destin Hill. And then on Saturday, I pinned him down on a nice rep against St. Thomas. And he caught a pick on Saturday in the twos against Michael Van Buren. So I think that's going to be a name to watch. Number 11, P.J. Woolen. I was high on him last offseason. You just see that instinctiveness come out of him. You see the fundamentals. You see all these nice little things that everybody preaches. We were talking to Corey Raymond. And the number one thing that he emphasized that I think is really cool is it doesn't matter how many reps you get. It matters what you do with them. If you get 20 reps, if you get 2 reps, if you get 1, it don't matter. Go out there, perform, do what you got to do. And then when your name is called, if we can trust you, you're going to have more opportunities. And also from an NFL scout standpoint, like everybody's fixating on how much these corners are going to play, not the fact that all these corners are going to have damn near equal opportunity to be able to turn heads. It sounds crazy, but I think that, your man sort of lanes are going to get a lot of credit. But if Jakeem Jackson comes out in a big game and has a big moment, he's showing flashes of what he's capable of doing if he has 40 snaps, 50 snaps, whatever the case may be. I guess my point is if P.J. Woolen comes out and has supplemental snaps, he still can be considered one of the best corners for LSU, regardless of if he's corner 1 or if he's corner 3, because this is a position that will rotate groups. You don't want these guys playing all game. If you got Mansour Delane and Ashton Stamps playing all game, and you throw them out in a man coverage set and they get burnt and they get torched or there's somebody not there, then your defense has holes. I don't think this defense has holes because at every position, and if you dial it back to recent years, you didn't have the depth to be able to do this. You didn't have the depth to be able to rotate D-line, to rotate edge, to rotate at corner. Shit, you could rotate linebackers too. I know you probably won't, but you've got options. You got a lot of them, quite frankly. Let's talk about Harold Perkins. We just brought up linebacker. I can't bring up linebacker without bringing up our guy, Perk. He's adjusting well to his new role. Good balance of coverage and a good balance of rushing. Good balance of both. He caught the interception today. When I said Garrett Nussmeier threw one over the middle, it was the big 7. Perk baited Nuss, got him to throw it back over the middle, and he grabbed one. And it was pretty funny watching Nuss's reaction to it. I ain't gonna lie. Perk was active at the line of scrimmage, had a nice stop against Bart Sharp, got off a block real quick from Trudez Green, talked a little bit afterwards. And look, it's tough for Trudez Green to be able to block. He's 6'7". Lowest man wins most of the time. I don't think anything is low about somebody being 6'7", jumping off the gym, windmilling, doing all kind of crazy athletic shit. He's got a bit of a disadvantage, Trudez, in terms of blocking. I mean, he's working on it. He's growing, but it's going to be something we're going to have to watch. But yeah, Perk, phenomenal IQ. I like what Brian Kelly said about him. He said he's got complete knowledge of the linebacker position now. He's not just going out there to make plays. And what he means by that is he's not just trying to see ball, get ball. He actually understands the concepts. He understands the coverage. He understands what the offense is doing and what his defense is trying to do to counter that. He knows all the moving pieces. He's the quarterback of the defense, quite frankly. And that's what you wanted Harold Perkins to get to. Why? Because that puts Harold Perkins in the best chance to succeed for him, not only at LSU, but at the NFL level. And everybody's fixating on how LSU's defense can get better. And that's good. But you also do, in turn, have to make sure that Harold Perkins hits his potential and becomes what Harold Perkins can become. Because if you don't put him in these situations, you don't truly know what you got out of him. And you could potentially be wasting one of the more talented players that you have. Everybody's focused on, well, Harold's doing this, or what's going on here? He needs to be here, he needs to be there. I think Blake Baker and company know exactly what Harold Perkins needs to do. And I think that they've gotten Harold Perkins on the same page, which is the biggest factor in all of this. It's not about telling a kid what he's going to do, but it's about a kid responding and reacting to his responsibilities, quite frankly. Like if he's all on board and he sees everything and he's attentive, he's intentional, now he's going to be able to produce on the field. But if it's kind of a growing pain period and you're just not happy about the position, then yeah, naturally it's not going to translate. I think with what you've seen from Harold Perkins, it's been translating. And like Brian Kelly said, the complete knowledge of that whole entire position is going to help translate on the field the success, the reps that you want him to be able to be in. If you want him to get to the quarterback, yeah, that's good, but you can't just sit here and send him to the quarterback every single play. You're going to get spotted out, buddy. You're going to get snuffed out. That's my opinion. Real quick, got a couple of notes. DJ Pickett, he's coming along at times. There's issues, but that's the same thing like with Colin Hurley or, like all these players that are young, inexperienced. You're going to have to just, quite frankly, fail. mess up, screw up, shit the bed a little bit in practice. And now you'll be able to learn. You rinse and repeat, and you get thrown back out there into the mix. Floby in the chat. What's up, Floby? You get to watch last stream. He went camping. 19 days left until the season. Floby going camping, man, in Connecticut, man. Oh, come on. I didn't know they did that out there. I ain't gonna lie to you. I don't know what they do in Connecticut, bro. It's kind of a smaller stop. Joe and Tammy. AJ will be big for this defense. Yeah, I think so. I think he will be a huge piece over that back end. I think that one of your biggest question marks for this entire team last year was the safety role. And here you are. You got 3 pieces that you can throw out there that are locks. AJ Alsey, DeMarcus Cooley, and then obviously Deshaun Spears. And you still got guys like Toviano and Jordan Gilbert. That's another one of those positions that I'll slide in there and say you can rotate. Now, it's not even just corner. It's DB. DB, D-line, edge. You got a lot of pieces to throw out there. And I think that having options is the best part about this team. You're not screwed to one little part, one little portion, one little sector. Appreciate everybody for tapping in today. We've got a lot of people in the stream. Everybody having a good time talking LSU football. We will be back Wednesday, 1 o'clock. I don't know exactly what the schedule's like for practice. Waiting on our guy Michael Bonnet to send it. I will make a YouTube post. I'll make a tweet. I'll put on Facebook, all socials. We got all our links in the bio. If you want to go follow us, wherever you get your news, go click the link, go to the platform, follow us, stay in touch. We'll update you on when we'll be back out at practice. And when we're there, stay tuned because around 11 a.m., 11:30, maybe noon, we'll have a highlight video. We'll have a reaction. We'll have 3 to 4 different clips on socials for you. We got everything. We'll be breaking it down. You know where to get the best LSU coverage right here, the Verdin. Appreciate everybody for tuning in. Smash that like button on the way out the stream, and we out of here.